Well, hello there, welcome back to tutorial number 3 here on creating an assembly in CREO. And what you see before you here is what I've called a rod. So it's essentially a connecting device which has a 20mm round shaft poking out of a 10mm round shaft, I beg your pardon, poking out of a 20mm round shaft, which is 160mm from one face where I'm pointing to the other face. So the overall shaft is 200mm long from edge to edge, and 20mm with each these little bosses pointing out over here, which I've highlighted, those cylinders, and they'll actually be fitting into the 10mm slots in our cube later on. But let's go to looking how to create this rod. So there's lots of ways you could do this, but I'm going to show you what I think to be the easiest way, which is still using the extrude function. So let's go ahead and do that, and to do that I'm going to open up a new file. It's still a part, and it's a solid part, and I'm going to call this one rod 2 because I've already made one rod. And when you click OK, well, it doesn't like me using brackets, so I'm going to have to get rid of those brackets. And that should make it happy. Okay, so this is rod 2. Now, to start off with, we're going to use the extrude function to make this rod. So I'm finding it easier to select a plane, which we're going to work on, a datum plane, and choose the extrude function. Now CREO, of course, will say, well, it brings up the sketch toolbar here, and it wants you to sketch something for which it can extrude. So we're going to accept that, and I think before we start sketching we will use a top view orientation to make it a bit easier for us. We're doing a circle. It's a center and point circle. Crosshairs are on my mouse button. Once again, it's usually a good idea to start at the center of the universe where possible and draw outwards. So we're wanting to create a circle. I don't have to be exactly accurate. It's enough for me that I can create the circle, go up to my normal button over here which will display measurements for me, and the diameter is 181.43. I don't want that. I'm going to have the main body of this rod is going to be 20mm in diameter. So there it is there. CREO has automatically made it proportionally fill up the screen for me, which makes it nice and easy. Am I happy with that? Yeah, I'm happy with that. Now it's going to extrude that for me, and dark orange color tells you that that's happened. And if I hold my center mouse button down, we're basically pushing the roller ball or the roller scroll button down, I can manipulate or move the image around. So see, it's extruded it to 50mm, but I want it to go out to 160mm. So I type in 160, and there she goes. Now it's a bit big for the screen, so I can just scroll using the scroll mouse button if I wanted to, or I can use this feature up here, which is the enlarge or zoom out and zoom in tool. Now if I use the zoom out tool and I click it, it'll automatically, CREO will shrink this object in stages. If I use the zoom in tool, I have to left click, drag, and create a box which I then left click to release, and that will give me a magnification on the area that I choose for the box. So if I want to look at that front edge, I highlight it, left click it, and it brings it to center screen and increases it in size, which is a handy feature when you're trying to work on big objects. Okay, well, I'm quite happy with this, the way it sits. I've done that larger section of the shaft. I'm going to click OK. Now if it happens that you look here and you can't find your drawing, it's not the end of the world. Go back to standard orientation here under the named views, find standard orientation, click on it, and there it is. It's came from right field, so you can get your object back again that way. Okay, now I'm going to use this zoom in function to highlight the top of this object because I'm going to work on that now. And again, I'm going to choose a view plane. I would like to look from the top so that I can see this object in a 2D sort of format. And again, to bring it to the center stage, just use the zoom tool, click on it. Now I'm going to extrude a shape. I'm going to extrude that extra little smaller cylindrical shaft, which is now going to be 10 millimeters. So CREO again is telling me where do you want to extrude, and I want to sketch. So I'm going across from extrude into the model tab, and I'm going to click sketch, and CREO is asking what plane do you want to sketch. Well, if I bring my mouse over the top of this plane, it highlights, see it changes color, left click, and it has selected this as the plane upon which I'm going to sketch. So I'm happy with that. So I left click on sketch, and now I can draw another circle from the middle. Wait for it to catch up with me. Draw that circle outwards and make this circle 10 millimeters. So at the moment it's 6.7. I'll just double click on it, double left click, and the box will open up where I can enter in my figures, and now it's 10 millimeters. So I have a 10 millimeter inner circle here and a 20 millimeter outer diameter there. So remember, we've still got the extrude function rolling here, and which means that we're still waiting. If CREO is waiting for a response from me to say whether I will accept my current sketching, and it can then extrude from that sketch. So I'm going to say yes, I can. I'm happy with that. So sketch has been approved. I clicked on extrude, and it has extruded this item. So if I want to make it a little bit smaller, I can just scroll out with my mouse button, and I notice that it's extruded that shape, and it's made it 40.62 millimeters long, which I don't want. I want it to be 20 millimeters long. This is going inside a 50 millimeter cube. Now I achieved the editing function by double clicking on the surface, double left clicking on the surface that I wanted to edit. I could have gone back to the model tree here on my left and right clicked on extrude, and I could have chosen edit definition, and that would have made this whole object then able to be edited. But I've double clicked it to just to show you another way of doing it. Now we've got a fill handle or pull handle here. If I wanted to, I can pull this backwards and forwards, but I don't really want to. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to accept what it has done, and by just clicking on the object here, I can move my editing function to another section, and I'm holding my left mouse button down now to spin the object around so I can draw on the other side. Now I'm wanting here, by clicking outside the object, I've saved it, so it's now in that grey shape, which is the saved form. Okay, so let's view this from the front. Not quite the front. I guess we want to view it from the bottom. That's better. Now I'll make this a bit larger. I'll use my zoom button to do that. Left click it and repeat the process. So I'm going to let's say sketch this time rather than extrude first. We'll do sketch. What plane? That front plane that I'm looking at. I'll left click. CREO's filled in the details here on my right hand side. I'm happy with those details. I click sketch. Then I select a circle, draw that circle out, go to the normal function here to adjust the dimensions to make sure it's 10 millimeters. Click enter. That's good. And I want to now save that, or I can no, I need to save it. So let's just go back to here and say, yeah, I'm happy with that. And then we'll go to the extrude function. Now CREO's guessed that I want to extrude that most recent sketch, and it's gone ahead and done that. So it suits me fine because that's exactly what I wanted to do. So I'm going to change that extruded feature to 20 millimeters, and I'm going to say yes, I'm happy. And there we have our strut. So the strut's 200 millimeters from surface to surface, from end to end, and is brought in by 20 millimeters from the edge, and has a shoulder which comprises a circle which is 20 millimeters in diameter. So that's our strut. Now we can colour it if we like. We can render it, which is always a good idea. I like colouring things in. So let's colour it, make it something a bit sort of different. What have we got over here? There's some strange things here, aren't they? Titanium. Let's make it titanium. So if I left click on that, it's the appearance gallery is here. Now, as I said, I've often found that you have to do this twice in order for this little dialog box to appear here, and it'll ask me to select what part of the object. Well, I want to do the whole object, so I'm hovering my paintbrush over the outer perimeter of the object. I'm left clicking on it to select the whole object. I click OK, and now we have, believe it or not, a titanium appearance for our rod, titanium rod. Okay, so that will be it. Remember to save that. If you click save straight over your drawing, it'll save it exactly where you saved your last items. So I'm happy with that because it's all in the same directory that I want to keep. So I'm clicking yes, then I'll click OK, and it's saved. And that's it. Thank you.